Diving into your next act or wondering what's ahead? Enjoy life as you change your path and embrace your authentic self.
Join me as we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of making big changes in your life. New directions both personally and professionally. Shake things up. But don't worry, you are not alone. On each episode, we'll be sharing stories, providing valuable information, and introducing you to others navigating their next act. So let's get inspired.
This is a Candy Factory Convo, Life in the Next Act with Gail Shane.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Life in the Next Act. Today, we're going to talk with Gwen Didden, Executive Director at Faith Friendship Ministries in Pennsylvania, which includes a villa for 74 adults with mental illness and other disabilities. Gwen will be discussing the silver lining of COVID and her own personal and professional survival of COVID. Gwen will also share how she went full circle in her career, as well as her passion for providing a voice to the voiceless and a hand to those who have lost their way. Gwen's career as a nonprofit leader has provided her with the avenue to live her passion every day. She has worked in the homeless and housing arena for over 25 years and firmly believes our community is only as strong as the opportunity we can provide to our most vulnerable. Gwen is a mother of 3 adult children and grandmother to 5. She holds a master's degree in human service from Lincoln University. Hello, Gwen.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Very well, very well. We have so much to talk about.
Yes.
So let's get started.
All right.
First, Gwen, I would love to talk about your career. You
Okay.
had many shifts or next acts, which you say brought you full circle. So can you share that journey with our listeners?
Sure. So I was born and raised in the county right next to Lancaster in Berks County and worked most of my career in housing or homeless services. Well, I started when I was newly married with purchasing a personal care home in Berks County and establishing that. At that time, we saw there was a need for quality personal care as people were being deinstitutionalized and brought back into the community. So my husband and I both had a heart and a passion for helping others and those that are very vulnerable. And we launched our home and established that about 25 years ago.
And then you came to Lancaster when?
Yes. So let me just back up a little bit because I had the home for about 6 years and unexpectedly became a widow. And so sold my home and went back to college and raised my children and had this rich career in Berks County, but always kind of felt like there was some unfinished business with the personal care home and the personal care industry, the passion that my husband and I launched. So as my children have been raised and I now have had a lot more freedom to follow my passions. It was sort of a spiritual experience. I received a phone call out of the clear blue from a headhunter who had seen my credentials and said, we've been searching for 2 years for the right fit for this particular personal care home in Lancaster that is in search of an executive director. And would you be interested in giving it a try? And I came to visit and the rest is history.
And that's what brought you full circle. I love this message from Faith Friendship Ministries website. At Faith Friendship Villa, we reach out to those with mental illness and others who need a caring, supportive living arrangement to help them be successful and feel fulfilled. We recognize how important it is to not simply have a place to stay, but to have a home, to not only have acquaintances, but to have true friends, to not just have traces of spirituality, but an atmosphere of faith that demonstrates the love of God and the compassion of a family, to have a place to belong. Gwen, tell us more about Faith Friendship's mission and Faith Friendship Villas.
Absolutely. So I wish I could take credit for being the one that thought of this brilliant idea, but I do want to give credit where credit is due. I am the second executive director. I took over after the original executive director and his wife had this vision, had this passion, and launched Faith Friendship Ministries in April of 2001. They purchased this home. It came up for sale. They established the licensing and began creating a culture of not just providing a housing service, but creating a culture of family of choice, bringing people in and helping them know not only do they belong in the community, but they belong as part of the Faith Friendship family. So this culture extends actually to staff as well. I love how we call our residents family members. We don't refer to them as residents. It just seems too impersonal. That we are all part of the family. It sort of goes also in that theme of being part of the family of God as well, just bringing that faith piece to them as well.
So there's 74 residents that I mentioned earlier, and how many staff members?
About 25 staff.
So as executive director, how hands-on are you with your 74 residents and your staff of 25?
Well, pretty hands-on. I wear a lot of hats, I will tell you that. I will roll up my sleeves and pitch in wherever's needed. I've worked in nonprofits my whole life, and I know that, sometimes you're cleaning a bathroom, sometimes you're in a boardroom. It just doesn't matter. You're here to do the work and serve. So daily, I walk through the villa. Daily, I meet with my family members and my staff. I always have an open door policy. I make myself as available as possible, and pitch in and help whenever's needed.
So many, many hats. Let me ask you about dealing with COVID personally and professionally, and how you having COVID led you to be more effective professionally. So first, share your personal COVID experience.
Yes. So we worked really hard. We have an amazing staff here. We talked a lot about the circle of trust. When we started hearing reports of COVID. We really worked at how can we keep ourselves safe, our family safe, and our family members here safe. We really focused on being careful where you go, and wearing a mask and cleaning your hands, all the things that we were told through the media. We did our best. But as you can imagine, the residents and family members here live in very close quarters. And when they're dealing with mental illness to begin with, and sometimes it's really hard for them to think about reality and what isn't reality and follow the rules all the time. So we just weren't sure if we were going to be ones to be exposed to this or not, although we tried our best to make sure we didn't. It was a Wednesday evening when I had heard that my first staff member started feeling ill, and of course sent them right away to go get tested. And 2 days later, I started with some symptoms. So I was early on when the pandemic hit, and I'm very grateful I didn't have severe symptoms, but I did have severe fatigue, and took me about a month to get back to work, which was very frustrating because I wanted to be here in the trenches, rolling up the sleeves, helping as much as I could. I did a lot of advocating from home, talking with the state, talking with the National Guard, getting as many facts as I could, getting as many supports as I could get the staff, even trying to just find the right protective equipment and cleaners was a challenge because we weren't a hospital or a nursing home, we're a residential facility. So we were just all hands on deck doing the best we can. I will say that feeling that vulnerable and that weak for so long, I don't think I've ever had an illness where I was sick that long, was just really, I had to really get refocused on my faith and realize that it's all going to be okay. I can't, this is something I couldn't control. So I did my best to take care of me, but also did my best to take care of the villa and the staff from my bedside.
That must have been really difficult to, be able to take care of you and care about, your family and your children and your grandchildren. And so personally, you made some changes, and that led you to be more effective professionally, because, it's again like another full circle, because it's like a family, a big family. So here's Gwen at home after a month. How was Faith Friendship affected by COVID?
Well, first I want to say, I have probably the most amazing staff members. I know that, you drive by a lot of nursing homes and personal care homes and you see the banners that say heroes work here. I can honestly say heroes work here. I did not lose one staff member. Nobody shied away from coming to work. There were times when I think at the very beginning, there were some staff members that thought, wow, I didn't sign up for this. I think there was times I thought that, I didn't sign up for a pandemic. I don't know what to do. I'm out of my comfort zone. But we had to rely on each other. We had to rely on the experts. We had to rely on the information. We had to rely on the state to give us direction. So it was really a time of just really having to depend on each other. And that circle of trust grew stronger and stronger. So I would just have to say and give, honor to the staff. Every single staff member here said, I came here, I believe I was called here, and we're going to be in this together. So it was really I guess I was going to say an act of love, maybe that's the way I can say it, that they just kept coming in and showing up and working tremendous amounts of hours. Of course, trying to keep our family members relaxed and comfortable and cared for, because they were used to being able to go out and do what they want. And now we had, direction from the state that they had to quarantine inside and they couldn't be in the community. And that's difficult on a good day. But when you're going through this type of hysteria, everything coming through the media, not knowing what to expect, so many unknowns, not having definitive answers, and then dealing with a mental illness on top of that, you can imagine the angst that was going on. But my team just showed up. I think the fact that they were seeing familiar faces, the fact that staff was showing up, brought a tremendous amount of comfort for the residents here.
How did you navigate with your staff and manage and communicate and, keep it together?
Well, I kept my cell phone with me at all times. So, text, I would drift off to sleep because there was extreme fatigue, and I'd wake up and check my phone right away, and I'd answer texts and I'd answer emails, and just reached out to the state, was the liaison and the advocate to the state, and letting them know what we're going through, because this was new for everybody. So it really was a time at first that was very scary. A lot of our residents and / family members here have a lot of the pre-existing conditions that you saw on the news saying this could be, fatal. So trying to keep us monitoring symptoms, being aggressive to get them medical help immediately if we saw anything, but also trying to keep people calm and peaceful, without letting the news kind of get in their head, and keeping them focused on the faith that we're built on here. And I really think that's a lot of the formula that brought us through.
So I researched a little bit and I found an article, Rules for Building a Crisis Management Framework. It's by Richard Amos from Hewlett Packard. And I thought it was or, I'll give you the short version, and you probably did a lot of these things. If you lack a crisis plan, you're planning for chaos. So, and this was written because this year has required organizations to test their crises management capabilities against multiple events: COVID, wildfires, and hurricanes, for starters. Avoiding every disruption is unrealistic. Having a crisis management plan in place can help a company or organization prevent total chaos. So I pulled these tips, and you can, tell me what you think. I'll read 6 of them.
Okay.
Set and define leadership roles and practice. Organize your team. Set a cadence or a pace of communication and status. Communicate to the masses and have a plan. That the masses would be, the residents, the families, the staff, everybody. Expect innovative and new ideas. Communication keeps the organization going. Did you do all? Did you add anything?
I will say this. I think for the most part, yes. I think the hardest part to do was the communication piece to the outside world, because there was so much we didn't know. And because there's already stigma with mental illness, and we wanted to be careful that we didn't become sort of a more stigma here in the community. We monitored very closely with our healthcare professionals to make sure that it wasn't a public health crisis where the community outside of our community would be put in danger. But it was really difficult. I think the hardest part was that the outside information. Once I came back, was back in work and back sort of in the captain's chair, I was here, boots on the ground. I could get the information out easier. But when I was home as the leader, I was knocked out. And my other co-leaders here were just trying to keep things running. And so the last thing they really thought about was being proactive. Now, they were reactive with information. People called, they gave them information. But that proactive piece is a piece we realized when I came back, that piece we need to have in place for the future.
Yes. And so it sounds like you have a great team and co-leaders, as you call them. Mm-hmm. So Gwen, what is the silver lining that you experienced?
Well, I think one of the things that we experienced was the fact that we came out with a new grit. We came out with knowing that we can survive this. We survived it. I kind of in tongue in cheek say, I am going to add to my resume, navigating a nonprofit organization through a worldwide pandemic, because
I love it.
Who knew that was going to be a thing? So the fact that, I think we as a team, I think even my residents have come out with new grit, because we came out on the other side and we're still standing and we're strong. And now we face the fears we've had, there's immunities now. We are stronger than before and stronger than that storm. So for me, I just feel like the silver lining is we came out. We landed better. We're strong. And we now have good stories to tell.
A circle of trust.
Absolutely.
And the residents' challenges, of course, are on top of the fear of COVID. Mm-hmm. You can speak on it. Low income, mental illness, yes, pre-existing conditions. So, yes. And there's a silver lining in that as well. Yes. So please share that.
Yes, that was so fun too, because one of the things that I think was probably the most fun of this was when all of my residents who, again, 95% have a mental illness, and just about that same amount are on a very low fixed income. So you can imagine they're used to just counting pennies, just they they can't really have too much in life, or they'll lose benefits, so they have to just live very frugally. Well, when they realize that they're all getting a stimulus check and that they could spend it any way they wanted, and no one was going to tell them, oh, now you're going to lose your benefits because you have this windfall. That was such fun. It was fun watching them being able to go out and order a meal, or buy a new TV for themselves, or just some of the things that they could never do. And it really was neat to sit down with them and plan in anticipation of it coming, and sort of dream with them and help them get a little bit of a budget. And that part was fun. Was watching them when things opened up a little bit more, and they go out and shop and really just enjoy that. It was sort of the little gift of all this for them.
And would you say you had a total reset of just the way you do everything? Would that be a silver lining?
Yes. And I think for me, a silver lining too is really sitting back and saying, okay, where are some of the parts of our system that we need to attend to? And where are some of the parts of the systems that worked when all this was happening? We weren't expecting it, but guess what? This worked, and we're on the right track. So that was really a silver lining. Also, being able to acquire some of what was called Act 24 COVID dollars that came down through the state. We're able to do some upgrades in the building. We're able to do some much needed repairs and enhancements, and really just bring the joy there too, to see how the residents are enjoying their house changes and house enhancements. So that's been fun too.
74 residents is a large community, a large family. What does the community at Faith Friendship miss the most since COVID changed their way of life?
That's an easy one. I think the biggest thing we miss are the support systems. It's been really difficult. One of the things the family members here look forward to are all the wonderful volunteers in this community that come in and have game nights, or a hot dog roast, or all kinds of, even families that come here and help serve meals. They get to see the little ones, just get to see new faces. That interaction, that connection with the community, that's been really tough. Even the fact that they can't see their doctors face to face. It's this telehealth, and it's great. They can at least have access to medical care or psychiatric care, but that comfort of the routine of going to see their doctor and talking face to face, that was real difficult. Just losing those, even case management services had to go from hands-on to telehealth, and it was really hard for them. They felt very isolated many times, and as you might know, mental illnesses can isolate to begin with. So imagine when all those wonderful support systems are now told you can't come in, and that was by the state's regulations. They can't come in. That was really tough for the family members to handle.
So what is a typical day like now?
We're getting back to our routine. Lancaster is in yellow again, so we need to be very careful, but we have done universal testing several times on campus. We are COVID free. So our residents are allowed to, of course, with masks and gloves and things, limited go out to some appointments and some activities. So that's been helpful. But we're doing our best to get people back into their normal routines. I think the thing they miss the most are being able to go out to the stores and do their little shopping when we all had to be locked in. So staff would bring in their shopping list. So now we're able to, little by little, get back into those routines. Some people had jobs and they're able to get back into that routine. That was real difficult too, when they couldn't go into their routine of working. So it was an interesting year that I don't think we want to go through again.
But it's still continuing, and you still have the safety measures, and you still
Yes.
have to explain why they wear masks and social distancing, and it must be difficult.
Very difficult, because what's really hard is this is their home. And it's very difficult to explain to them that they have to wear a mask inside their home. I don't wear a mask inside my home, but then I don't live with 74 people.
Right.
So it's real difficult to help them to understand when you're in the common areas, you need to distance, you need to wear a mask. This is just to protect each other, protect yourself and each other. And that's been hard, because it doesn't feel as home-like and personal.
We can, always find a silver lining in everything we do in life. It's about being positive, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gwen, if you could give a word of advice or encouragement to our listeners, what would it be? Well,
I think one of the things that got me through was to remind myself that one of the best things God ever did was make one day after another. and that even though one day might be really, really challenging, the sun still comes up tomorrow and it brings us hope. And just showing up, participating, doing the best we can to manage the crisis each day has really helped to bring it now to where we're seeing it more manageable. We see a light at the end of the tunnel, and again, I look back and think we survived this, and that's not a small feat. So it just really feels like we've been through this trauma together, and we've come out stronger, and we've come out closer with more respect for each other and more respect for the resilience our family members have.
And your family members' families, they're a part of the entire family. So, communicating with them and just everybody being on the same page is very important.
Yes, absolutely. And that it is all part of it. It's not just the residents that live here. It is their families, that we support as well in many ways, we're that liaison between them. So that was, like I said, that was a bit of a challenge at first until we could get our system in place, and then it's rolling fine. It's been fine. But it's also difficult because we're coming up to the holidays. That means, depending on where our county is, will they be able to go out and be with their families during the holidays? That's going to be another hurdle we'll have to get through.
Sure. You'll have a few more, but I applaud you for what you've been able to accomplish. I want to ask you, why is it so important to you to provide voice to the voiceless and a hand to those who have lost their way?
Well, I think it started when I was a little girl. I was a minister's daughter, and my dad's church had sort of a bus ministry, and they'd pick up residents from the local homes. And I just always seemed to they just seemed to be drawn to me. And I used to think, they just want what we want. They just want to feel included. They just want to be special. They just want to be part of a community. And I've always just really, it's appealed to me to be there for those that feel they don't have a voice, or feel they aren't special or important. And I like to be able to tell them, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are unique. There will never be another you. And just enjoy and appreciate the differences, but also empower them to feel like they are somebody in our community.
You're very inspiring, Gwen. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your passion and your story. You can reach Gwen at gdidden@faithfriendship.org or 610-507-9631.
Yes.
Or faithfriendship.org, where you can find out how to donate, volunteer, and more.
Yeah.
And I'd like to leave you with this. Focus on what you have instead of what you don't have. Mm-hmm. Focus on what is right in your world instead of what is wrong. Focus on where you are going instead of what you have been through. Mm-hmm. Join us next time as we aim to inspire, empower, and inform. Life in the Next Act is a proud member of the Candy Factory Collective. You can find the show streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And you could subscribe to the audio version anywhere you get your podcasts.
Gail has experienced many acts over the years. Living a full life, she is a mother of 2 and grandmother of 3, and currently calls Lancaster, PA home. An entrepreneur at heart, she's owned several businesses, hosted a popular radio show, and has written for prominent publications highlighting nonprofits. While she holds her real estate license in Florida and PA, she believes her true calling is giving others a voice.
Learn more about Gail at gailshane.com. Life in the Next Act is produced by the Candy Factory Collective at the Candy Factory Co-working Campus in Lancaster, PA. Production support by Jason Mundock and Anna Tran. Administrative support by Ann Kirby, Ariana Henderson, and Krisha Martzell. Notes and links can be found on the show post at our website, candyfactory.com.